It all began with a feeling, a gentle pull towards the unknown. Sometimes the most profound journeys start not with a plan, but with a quiet curiosity that grows until it can no longer be ignored. For me, it was a longing to step outside the familiar, to see the world through new eyes, and to let a distant city shape my story. I found myself in Moscow, a city of grand stories and even grander buildings. Its skyline was a tapestry of history, each spire and dome a silent witness to centuries of triumph and turmoil. The city seemed to stretch endlessly, its heart beating with the echoes of poets, revolutionaries and dreamers. The air was crisp, charged with a unique energy. Every breath felt electric, as if the city itself was alive and waiting to reveal its secrets. The snow underfoot crunched with each step, and the cold sharpened my senses, making every detail stand out in vivid clarity. I arrived not as a tourist, but as a traveler, ready to listen. I wanted to move beyond the surface, to understand the rhythm of daily life, and to let the city's stories unfold naturally, one encounter at a time. The domes of cathedrals shimmered against the sky, whispering tales of czars and revolutions. Their colors glowed in the winter sun, and I imagined the generations who had gazed up at them, each with their own hopes and fears. My journey was about understanding the people who lived in their magnificent shadows. I watched as locals hurried by, bundled against the cold, their faces revealing stories of resilience and warmth. My first walk through the city was a sensory overload, roasting chestnuts, the melody of Russian, families laughing, friends embracing. The city was alive with contrasts, ancient and modern, solemn and joyful, familiar and utterly foreign. In these small, ordinary moments, I felt a profound connection. The laughter of strangers, the warmth of a shared meal, the kindness in a passing smile. These were the threads that wove me into the fabric of Moscow. One hears so much before arriving, but standing there, I realized how little I truly knew. The city was more than its reputation, more than the stories told from afar. It was a living, breathing place full of surprises. I was determined to look beyond the headlines and find the real heart of this country. I wanted to listen to the voices that rarely make the news, to see the everyday Moscow that exists between the lines. The city felt like a giant unopened book. Each street, each building, each face was a page waiting to be read, a story waiting to be discovered. I put away the map and simply observed. Children chasing pigeons, an elderly couple sharing a newspaper, a young musician lost in his music. These moments, fleeting and unscripted, revealed the soul of the city. These scenes were universal, deeply human. They reminded me that, no matter where we are, we all seek connection, joy and meaning in the everyday. A sense of peace settled over me. In the midst of the city's bustle, I found a quiet space to reflect, to breathe, and to simply be present. The journey had just begun, but I already knew it would change me. Each step forward felt like an invitation to grow, to learn, and to see the world with new eyes. Moscow whispered a promise on the wind. It spoke of stories yet to be told, of friendships yet to be made, and of discoveries waiting just around the corner. I was ready to listen. The adventure was underway, and with every heartbeat, I felt the city welcoming me into its endless story. The true soul of any country is found in its kitchens. My first invitation into a Russian home was unforgettable. Modest, but filled with warmth. My hostess welcomed me like family, and though we barely shared a language, we communicated perfectly through smiles and gestures. She taught me to shape dough for pirochki and serve kasha with butter, a humble meal but rich in generosity. In every home, the table was the universe, stories, laughter, and endless tea in ornate glasses. Hospitality here is a sacred duty. No one is ever turned away. I learned that connection is built on small, consistent acts of kindness. Sharing a meal, a story, a warm drink. These moments created a sense of belonging I began to cherish. Traveling through Russia is like journeying through time. Modern buildings stand beside imperial palaces and Soviet blocks, a living tapestry of history. I saw young people on smartphones next to babushkas selling shawls, old and new woven together. In a small-town museum, the curator showed me artifacts as if sharing his own family's soul. Traditions are alive folk songs at gatherings, lacework passed down generations. These aren't relics, they're vibrant expressions of a culture that remembers its roots. The dialogue between past and present gave me a new perspective on my own life. The past here isn't a burden, it's the foundation for the future. If the kitchen is the heart of the Russian home, the dacha is its soul. I spent a weekend at a family's dacha, a blue wooden house surrounded by gardens and flowers. Life here moved with the sun and seasons, not the clock. We picked tomatoes, dug potatoes, and found satisfaction in simple work. Afternoons meant hammocks and lake swims, evenings, bonfires, and songs under the stars. The dacha is where families reconnect and celebrate life's simple pleasures. It taught me the value of simplicity, self-sufficiency, and connection to nature. Happiness here comes from shared experiences and quiet reflection. The dacha was a little piece of paradise, a Russian dream I was lucky to share. I left with a new appreciation for the joy found in simplicity. Much of my journey was spent on the legendary Trans-Siberian Railway, a ribbon of steel stretching across the vastness of Russia. For days, the train became my home, my vantage point, and my constant companion as we rolled eastward, deeper into the heart of the continent. Inside, the train was a world unto itself, an ever-changing community of travelers, each with their own stories and destinations. But the real magic, the true wonder, was always just beyond the glass, waiting to be discovered with every passing mile. Outside, endless birch forests flickered past like a living painting, their white trunks glowing in the morning light. The vast steppes stretched out in every direction, a sea of grass and wildflowers beneath a sky that seemed impossibly wide and blue, reminding me how small I was in the face of such grandeur. The steady rhythm of the train, its gentle rocking, the click and clack of wheels on rails, became my own heartbeat. It was soothing, almost hypnotic, inviting me to slow down, to reflect, and to simply be present in the moment. As we moved further east, the landscape shifted subtly and then dramatically. Forest gave way to open plains, villages appeared and disappeared, and with each change, I felt myself changing too, growing quieter, more contemplative, more attuned to the world outside. Life on the train was a microcosm of Russia itself. Soldiers in uniform, students with backpacks, families with children, and elderly travelers all shared the same narrow corridors and crowded compartments. We exchanged food, laughter, and stories, forming brief but meaningful connections that made the journey richer. One afternoon, an elderly woman invited me to join her for tea. She showed me how to brew it with the samovar, the steaming, hissing heart of every carriage. Around the samovar, strangers became friends, and the ritual of sharing tea became a language of its own. Watching the land roll by, hour after hour, my worries and anxieties seemed to shrink. The sheer scale of Russia, its endless forests, rivers, and plains, put my own concerns into perspective, reminding me of the world's vastness and my place within it. The journey taught me patience and the quiet joy of simply enjoying the ride. I learned to appreciate the slow unfolding of the landscape, the gentle pace of travel, and the value of being present, rather than always rushing toward the next destination. The view from the train was more than just scenery. It was a moving meditation, a living memory etched into my mind and soul, reminding me that sometimes the journey itself is the greatest destination of all. Siberia, once a name I associated with exile and cold, became a place of beauty and warmth. I was welcomed with open arms in a small Siberian city, meeting people of resilience and humor. The banya, a traditional steam bath, was both intense and invigorating, a ritual of healing and bonding. Plunging into icy water after the heat was a shock, but left me feeling alive. Siberians don't just survive the harsh winters, they find joy in them. Skating, building snow forts, fishing on frozen rivers. Their respect for nature and each other is profound. I learned to look beyond stereotypes and found a community full of life and laughter. Siberia wasn't the end of the world. For me, it was a new beginning. Russia's artistic legacy is legendary, but its creative spirit lives everywhere. In every town, culture is cherished and shared by all. I attended a ballet in the Urals. Children and elders alike united in pride. The dancers' passion was matched by the audience's reverence. Folk musicians played haunting melodies. Artists painted landscapes that captured the soul of the land. Art here is a way of seeing, a language beyond words. Experiencing Russian culture was like hearing the country's heartbeat. Tchaikovsky's music, Tolstoy's novels, they made sense in the context of these landscapes and people. Art and music aren't separate from life. They are its most eloquent expression. They revealed a deep, soulful, and passionate people and became the soundtrack to my journey. As my journey drew to a close, I found myself lost in thought, gazing out the window as the landscape slipped by. I reflected on how much I'd changed, not just in the places I'd seen, but in the way I saw myself and the world around me. I arrived with preconceptions, carrying a suitcase full of expectations and a mind shaped by stories I'd heard. But as the days unfolded, those old ideas faded, replaced by a heart full of memories and a new, deeper understanding of what it means to truly experience a place. The train didn't just carry me across the vastness of Russia, it carried me on an inner journey, one that challenged my assumptions and opened my eyes to the beauty in the unexpected. The people I met along the way, with their kindness and openness, transformed me in ways I never anticipated. Their stories, laughter, and generosity became the true highlights of my adventure. They showed me that human connection is our greatest treasure, more valuable than any souvenir or photograph. The warmth of a shared smile or a heartfelt conversation lingered long after the moment had passed. I learned to find beauty in simplicity, a meal shared at a rustic table, the quiet majesty of a birch forest at dawn, the gentle crackle of a bonfire surrounded by friends. These moments, small and unassuming, became the memories I cherished most. This journey recalibrated my sense of what matters. I realized that happiness isn't found in grand gestures or far-off destinations, but in the quiet presence of now, in the connections we nurture, and in the courage to be open to new experiences. It wasn't about seeing things but feeling them, about being present, embracing kindness, and letting go of the need to control every outcome. I learned to savor each moment, to listen more deeply, and to appreciate the simple joys of life. Leaving was bittersweet. Saying goodbye to new friends and places that had become familiar was hard, but I was filled with gratitude for every lesson, every smile, and every shared moment. Russia had been a teacher, opening my heart and mind in ways I never expected. Its vastness, its people, and its quiet wisdom left an imprint on my soul. The journey was over, but its impact was just beginning. I knew that the lessons I'd learned and the connections I'd made would shape me for years to come. I was not the same person who had arrived in Moscow. I was leaving with a new sense of self, a heart open to the world, and a deep appreciation for the beauty of the unfamiliar. My travels through Russia were more than a trip. They were a revelation. Behind the headlines are real people living with the same hopes and dreams as us. The magic is in shared smiles and quiet moments, not just landmarks. Travel, at its best, is a melody that changes us. My journey's soundtrack was laughter, music, and the clatter of train wheels. There's so much more to see and understand. The world is a vast book, and I've only read the first chapter. I invite you to join me. Let's explore, listen, and celebrate our shared humanity. The journey is far from over. Let's see where the road takes us next.